Hi, welcome back to On The Volley. As you can see, today I'm not at the pub, okay? I'm just, I decided just to have an alcohol-free day. Well, maybe not an alcohol-free day. I might have a couple of cans, which I've got in the fridge, later on this evening. But definitely a quiet night. Need to prepare myself for the wedding on the Sunday. So I'm going to a wedding on a Sunday, and that should be manic. Looking forward to it. Anyway, listen, let's get back to what I want to talk about. Basically, it's Ange Postecoglou again, and you know, Spurs semi-final game against Bodo Glimt. Now, to be totally honest, I think that a lot of Spurs supporters, a lot of pundits, okay, and everyone, they believe that it's a done deal, you know, and that Spurs should go through. And to be totally honest, I believe that Spurs should go through as well. If you look at it, you're talking about a Norwegian team whose team costs a fraction of what Spurs team costs, yeah? But then if you go back and look at, you know, the results which they've had in the past, which is what I went back to do, yeah? It sheds another light on them. Ange Postecoglou knows Bodo Glimt, yeah? Because in his time when he was managing Celtic, you know, Celtic had to play against them as well. Look, I didn't go back and look at the whole history of Bodo Glimt's achievements, if you want to call it that, in European competition. But what I will say, okay, is that they're the first Norwegian team in history to get to a European semi-final, and that is no small feat. The only other Norwegian team to make progress in European competition was Rosenborg in the 1996-1997 season, where they reached the quarter-final of the Champions League. Again, no small feat for a Norwegian team. So, you know, they can play a bit of football. Obviously, they don't have the spending power. They don't have, I'm not going to say the quality of footballers that, you know, the big spenders have. They obviously work on a smaller, tighter budget. But, you know, I don't know too much about Rosenborg, but I have seen Bodo Glimt play, and they play some fantastic football. Attacking, free-flowing, you know, counter-attacking football. They have an advantage when they play at home because they play on an artificial pitch. That is true, obviously. Yeah, in the Europa Conference League, they played on the 21st of October, 2021, yeah? It was a group stage game. They were at home to Roma. Roma got thrashed 6-1. 6-1, Roma. I mean, that was an embarrassment for Roma. I mean, there's no other way that you can, you know, describe it. Embarrassment, period. Mourinho, I remember, came out, yeah, and he turned around and he said, oh, I underestimated them, you know, I put out my B team, I should never have underestimated them, I should have put out a stronger squad, so on and so forth, yeah, which he did in the return leg, yeah, which was played on the 4th of November, okay, 2021, so it was Roma, Bodo Glimt, and that finished 2-2. And if I remember rightly, please correct me if I'm wrong, because my memory ain't what it used to be, but I think Bodo Glimt were winning 2-1, and like Roma scored in the last minutes of the game or something. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, you know, it's neither here nor there, okay, whether I'm right or wrong. You know, the bottom line is that the end result was it finished a draw 2-2, even though Roma put out, you know, their first team. And after a 6-1 thrashing, I don't blame Mourinho. And I suppose he saved some face, if you like. Okay, I don't even know if I can put it that way. Now, on the 17th of February 2022, they played against Celtic. Okay, so they were away to Celtic. Celtic were at home. Celtic were under Ange Postecoglou's management, and Bodo Glimt beat Celtic 3-1. You know, it was a bit of shock. It was a bit of a shock at the time, I'll be honest with you. But like I said, they play attractive football. They play good, free-flowing, attacking football. Okay, attacking and counter-attacking. You know, depending on the situation. So we go to the return leg, which was played on the 24th of February, okay, 2022. A chance for Celtic to redeem themselves on the plastic pitch, and Bodo Glimt won 2-0. And that was it, you know. So did Ange underestimate them as well at the time? Yeah, I think so. I think I remember seeing one of Ange's post-match interviews, and he used those famous words again, which he's been using on regular occasions when they lose, when Spurs lose, yeah? And his famous words are, "We controlled the game." Sometimes that can be true. Sometimes that can be true, yeah? Because, you know, I watched a game against Nottingham Forest, apart from the 2 goals which they let in. It could have been 3, you know, but the 3rd goal was deemed offside. Which I think is ridiculous, because when you looked at it, you looked at the line, his feet was behind. It's because he was leaning and his arm was forward, okay, in front. You're not going to fucking score with your arm, are you? So I don't know why they class that as offside, but it is what it is. Those are the rules. So that, instead of being 3-0, got cancelled. It remained at 2-0. After which, let's be honest, Spurs did have control of the game. And, you know, there was one, I think it was a header that was from Kulusevski, I think, okay, if I remember rightly, that was going into the back of the net, yeah. And, you know, their player, not the Nottingham Forest player, I can't remember who it was, yeah. He did some fucking Spider-Man shit, man. I mean, that was some Spider-Man shit, yeah. Because he just managed to jump up and just hook the ball out. I mean, it was basically on the line. That ball was going in, and he managed to hook it off the line. I mean, that was some fucking great defending. And then obviously there was another one, it was going in, the Forest keeper. Great save. You know, okay, Spurs pulled one back. So yeah, look, at half time when they were 2-0 down, I'll be honest with you, I put a couple of live bets on. I put a tenner on Spurs to win the game, and I put a tenner on a draw, because I thought the least they'd get is a draw, yeah, to be totally honest. And obviously the Spurs fans are not happy with it, and there's a lot of hullabaloo. The same thing, you know, we're just rehashing it over and over again. They want Ange out. You've got the Spurs fans that are ringing into certain toolkit shows, okay, and saying, "Oh, I left on the 6th minute. Oh, I left on the 72nd minute. Oh, I want Spurs to get knocked out of the Conference League semi-final, or if we get to the final, I want Spurs to lose. You know, we want Ange out." And then, you know, then you've got the people that turn around saying, "Oh yeah, but even if Spurs do win the Europa League Cup final, they still want him out." Okay, why? Because their league position is unacceptable. And yes, I agree, the league position is unacceptable. But, I mean, come on, man. Whether you finish 17th or you finish 12th or 13th or whatever, yeah, I haven't done the mathematical calculations, because you win it like 4, I think 6 games are left, 4 of the 6 games, or 3 of the 5 games that are left, whatever's left, yeah. I think they played 33 games so far. So that would mean there's like 5 left, yeah. So, you know, does it really make that much difference now? They're not going to get relegated. So what difference does it make whether or not, you know, you finish 17th or you finish 15th? No one's going to remember that. I mean, they spoke about this on most media outlets, okay? If they win, and that is still if, because it's not a done deal, if they win the Europa League Cup final, that will finally be a European trophy after what, 30, 40 years? I mean, come on. Give the guy some credit. Look, back to Bodo Glimt. The next time they played against Roma was in the quarter-final of the Europa Conference League, yeah? Which was on the 7th of April and the 14th of April 2022. After, obviously, they'd knocked out, okay, or they'd beaten Celtic. So, the first game, obviously, on the 7th of April, it was Bodo Glimt against Roma, and Bodo Glimt won 2-1 at home. So they beat Roma at home again. And on the 14th of April 2022, Bodo Glimt was away to Roma. Roma 2-1 down. But Roma stepped up their game and won 4-0. So Roma went through to the semi-final. So, you know, I mean, if you look at those, that's 6 games which they've played. 4 against Roma, okay? 2 against Celtic. I mean, come on. I mean, they've won 1, 2, 3, 4 out of those 6 games. They've lost 1, okay, which was to Roma 4-0, and they drew 1, which was 2-2. Out of those 6 games, yeah, I mean, you know, it just goes to show Bodo Glimt are not to be underestimated. So any of the Spurs fans that are out there saying, oh, yeah, you know, yeah, we reached the final, okay, it's a done deal, so on and so forth, you know, then we go on to beat Atletico or Man United, whoever we have, okay, that's a goal, finally, you know, Ange, as always said, he wins a trophy in his 2nd season, so that might come true. No, that's not necessarily true, yeah? Again, I repeat what I've said in the past. Ange has come out and said that he has always won a trophy in his 2nd season. But I repeat, he also turned around and said if he doesn't win it this season, he can't say that anymore. Getting back to Ange now, yeah? And, you know, all the noise, you know, everyone turning around saying, oh, you know, get rid of him, so on and so forth, okay, you know, sack the guy, even if he wins the Europa League, because, you know, the form in what some people call bread and butter in the league is unacceptable. Yeah, fine. But, yeah, they've lost, 18 games, yeah, and they're languishing in 16th, yeah? Yeah, fully understand that. But I did something which I don't know if anybody else has done, okay? I've actually gone and looked at it a little bit more clinically, if you like, yeah? So what I've gone is I've looked at Spurs, and Spurs, you know, they're languishing it in 16th, yeah? They've got, 37 points, okay? Probably their lowest ever, or in a long while, I don't know, yeah? They've scored 61 goals, yeah? And they've let in 51. I mean, that's a hell of a lot of goals to let in. But let's not forget something. They've been without their centre-half pairing for a big part of the season. And I mean, I think any team would suffer in that situation. Then I went and looked at Liverpool. I mean, I don't even know why I looked at Liverpool. It's ridiculous. But I thought, let me just go, okay, and look at the top 7 teams. Liverpool on 79 points, yeah. They've scored 75 goals, yeah. So that's 14 more than Spurs. But they've only let in 31, 20 goals less. Arsenal on 67 points, yeah. They've scored 63 goals, 2 more than Spurs, but they've let in 29. Massive difference, but Arsenal have got a great defence, yeah? City, 61 points. They've scored 66 goals. Okay, 5 more than Spurs. Okay, right. They've let in 43 goals, 8 less than Spurs. Forest are on 60 points, yeah, in 4th place. My compliments to Forest. They've had a great season. And they've only scored 53 goals, though. Okay, so Spurs have scored 5 goals more than them. But Forest have only let in 39 goals. Again, great defensive display, and we saw that when, Nottingham Forest played against Spurs. In 5th position is Newcastle. And, my hat's off to Newcastle. They're having a good season. They're in 5th with 59 points. They've only scored 62 goals. I say only because I'm comparing it to Spurs, yeah? So it's 1 more goal than Spurs, but they've let in 44, which is 7 less than Spurs. Newcastle 59 points, if I didn't mention that, I can't remember. Anyway, in 6th position is Chelsea on 57 points, yeah? They've scored 58 goals, 3 less than Spurs, but they've let in 40, which is 11 less than Spurs. In 7th position, this is the last one, okay, that I'm looking at, is Aston Villa, who are on 57 points, the same amount of points as Chelsea. They've scored 54 goals, 7 goals less than Spurs have scored. And they've let in 49, only 2 less than Spurs. But Villa are 7th and Spurs are 16th. So, I mean, if you look at it like this, where is the problem? My analysis, my assumption, my conclusion is that the injuries played a major part in where Spurs are languishing this season. Now, yeah, I've heard that, the noise around town are, oh yeah, even other teams have had injuries, so on and so forth. You can't use that as an excuse. Fuck that. Of course you can use that as an excuse. It's a massive excuse because it makes a massive dent in your team and your team's performance. It goes without saying. Now, if you've played football and you're missing, okay, one of your main players, you know it's going to affect you. You know it is, okay? Now, I don't want to big myself up, yeah? But I remember when I was playing football and my team, if I was out injured, they could tell the difference. It showed when I wasn't playing, okay? And this is not me bigging myself up, yeah? I'm just keeping it real. So, everyone that's saying, you can't use that as an excuse, so on and so forth, I disagree. What I do not agree with Ange on is when he comes out and he says, we were outstanding, we controlled the game. No, Ange, sometimes Spurs were not outstanding. Yeah, they played well, maybe, okay, and yes, I agree, errors, okay, have let you down, have let Spurs down. And again, against Nottingham Forest, okay, the first goal by Anderson, okay, takes a shot. Vicario dived the right way. It took a deflection off Bentancur, and I think that deflection just moved the ball out of Vicario's reach because, again, he dived the right way. Then you got these pundits on YouTube, on social media, okay, that turn around and say, Vicario should have saved that. And I'm like, yeah, really? What, was you a fucking keeper? Yeah, how do you know he should have saved that? Maybe he should, maybe he shouldn't. But the only person that knows whether or not he should have saved it or not is fucking Vicario. And if he thought that he should have saved it and he didn't, he'll be angry with himself. He'll be disappointed in himself. Me personally, I never played in goal, so I can't turn around and say, he should have saved that or not. Okay, let me not be a hypocrite. There have been occasions where I thought the keeper should have saved a shot, but it's more clear cut, yeah? That took a deflection. So I don't know to what degree that deflection, okay, affected Vicario's possibility to actually save the ball. Okay, it might have deflected and taken it away from him. I don't know. So I'm not going to sit here and say he should have saved that. What I will criticise Vicario on, yeah, is when he came out for the second goal, Chris Wood, in between the two centre-halves, jumps up, Vicario comes running out, and he was all over the place. He was nowhere near the ball, okay? Now, if you're going to go out as a keeper, this is the way I see it, this is my opinion, I repeat, I was never a keeper, so I don't know. But if you're going out for it, you've got to make sure, and you've got to make sure you get to that ball. Because if not, if Vicario had stayed on his line and Woods had headed it, Vicario would probably have saved that shot. Do you know what I mean? It probably would have gone straight into his hands because that was the direction, okay? And again, maybe if Chris Wood had seen that Vicario stayed on his line, maybe he would have headed it in another direction. I don't know, okay? I can't say what he would or wouldn't have done. That is just my opinion, okay? Just looking at it from what I saw, you know, on the box and on the replay. Anyway, look, the last thing I have to say is this, yeah? All the talk has been about Ange being sacked, okay, right? The hierarchy are looking at other managers, okay, they've approached other managers, so on and so forth. Has anyone thought to themselves that if, and it's still a big if, Ange takes Spurs to a European trophy for the first time in 30, 40 odd years, whatever it is, and then, you know, Levy turns around to him and says, oh, Ange, you know what, we want to continue our relationship. Has it slipped to anyone's mind that Ange may turn around and say, you know what, mate, thank you, but no thank you. I don't need this shit. Because let's be honest, okay, Ange, watching his interviews, the boy seems absolutely, okay, he's a different person. He's a different person. His whole body language is negative, okay? Let's not forget, I thought he was going to walk last season. At the end of the season, when all the Spurs supporters wanted their team to lose against Man City so that Arsenal didn't have a chance to win the league. I mean, come on. Ange came out in one of his post-match interviews and said that there's something wrong, okay, fundamentally wrong, okay, with that kind of mentality, okay, with the club, okay, and, you know, he said it's inside and out. I remember he was being asked by the journalist, is that inside the club or outside? And Ange turned around and said, inside and out, over and under. He might not have said that, I added that in. And I honestly thought, and I remember saying it on one of my posts, yeah, that it wouldn't surprise me if Ange walked. He's done it before. And there's a very strong possibility that if Ange does win the European League Cup, he turns around and says, you know what, even if you do offer me to stay, okay, and finish out my last 2 years, I don't need this shit. I'm off. I want to go to a club where they appreciate me. And you know what? I wouldn't fucking blame him. I would not blame him. Because if you analyse it how I've done, yeah, you can see that the injuries, especially missing the core of his defence, has played a major part in where Spurs are in the league this season, languishing 16th. Anyway, look, that's my opinion, yeah? I'm not a Spurs supporter. I'm an Arsenal supporter, you all know that. I'm Celtic in Scotland, you all know that. But I just try to be as objective as I can, and that's it. That's it from me, Michelle. I'm out.